Welcome, stargazers and mystery seekers, to the Outlaw Astrology Podcast, where we explore the cosmic mysteries that mainstream astrology does not touch. I am your intrepid star guide and cosmic detective, APM. And trigger warning, today's episode discusses unexplained and mysterious phenomenon, also mysteries that may be unsettling to some viewers. So if this topic is activating, please feel free to sit this one out. And before we dive in, please take a moment to rate, to share, review this podcast. Those 5 stars help fellow cosmic rebels find us in the vast digital cosmos. And now, on with the show. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, which I think is pretty cool, and it's basically using astrology to look at the unexplained and the unknown. So we all have those pet stories, and if you don't, if you're listening to this podcast, you do. I assure you that you do. We all have those pet true crime stories that either fascinate us or we find revolting, but we can't look away, and stories that interest us, like our interest in remote viewing, Bigfoot, like cryptozoology, maybe that's your thing, the paranormal, maybe the supernatural is your thing, that sort of thing. And so we're looking at astrology from the perspective of being able to use that to make sense of the unexplained and the mysterious. And why would we do that? Well, the reason why we do that is to better understand ourselves. Because the whole point of this podcast, outlaw or otherwise, is know thyself. And I know the cosmos. But in knowing thyself, meaning one's values, one's ethics, and etc., you also have the ability to build a life, create a life based on who you really are. And in order to make the best choices for yourself, to be able to know your North Star, you need to know who you are first. And so that is the purpose of astrology. Astrology can also be a mystical, esoteric, or even an occult practice. It can be a path that one chooses. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to start off with the Trinity of Mystery. And that is how we're calling the sun, the moon, and the ascendant, and how they work together to unveil mysteries. And so the sun is about the physical evidence, what you can see, what you can put your hands on, whereas the moon guides us through the shadows, and the ascendant shows us where to begin our investigation. Now, here's the thing about this. The sun, moon, the Trinity is now a big thing in astrology as we see it practiced on Instagram and all the other socials. It's a big emphasis on it. The sun is often seen as the ego, the conscious mind, your self-concept. The moon is seen as safety needs and how one nurtures oneself. And this is all psychological astrology, by the way. And the ascendant is seen as the mask we wear according to astrology. I'm going to point out that I don't happen to see the ascendant in particular that way. The ascendant is who we think we are, who we know ourselves to be, who we perceive ourselves to be rather than who others perceive us to be, because house 1 is underneath the fold, meaning it's those subjective houses that are not easily seen, and the chart is seen from the perception of the ascendant, meaning a sextile, a trine, a square is always from the perception of the first house, which is where the ascendant usually rests. If you use Placidus, it'll be on the cusp of the first house. If you use whole sign houses, it will tend to move around quite a bit, even within a few houses. So it can be in the 12th house, it can be in the 3rd house if you're using whole sign houses, which, by the way, I do. So that's a note. And so let me go a little deeper into those. So solar illumination is what we're going to call that. And the sun represents the conscious quest for understanding and revelation. In mysterious sightings and unexplained events, it symbolizes what is visible and apparent. It is the physical evidence we can see and document. It illuminates the tangible aspects of the mystery whilst casting shadows that hint at deeper truths. Okay? Now, we're going to call the next one a lunar intuition, because the moon does have a lot to do with the unconscious, the subconscious, that is, which is hidden in secret, in addition to our, how would I describe that? In addition to our safety needs and etc. So, the moon governs the hidden realms, the subconscious, the unconscious understanding. So, whilst investigating mysteries and the unexplained, it represents our intuitive insights, symbolic patterns we might notice, and any ephemeral qualities that defy conventional explanation. So it guides us through the shadows of the unknown and give us maybe perhaps a connection to ancient wisdom. I would say that the moon probably more symbolizes ancient wisdom because it is the mystery in a chart. In any chart, the moon is always a symbol of mystery more than the sun is. All right, the next thing we're going to call it rising sign or rising sign mysteries. And the ascendant marks the eastern horizon. That's the point of emergence. So basically it's dawn. Whatever is in your first house was rising on that particular day. Whatever's in the seventh house was setting on that particular day. So if the sun is in your first house, it was rising. And whatever sign is on the cusp, say Pisces, the sun was rising in Pisces on that particular day. And that means that whatever, let's say that Mars is in Virgo in the seventh house, that means Mars was in Virgo and setting on that same day. Okay, so that's basically what that means. And to move on, so when you want to analyze the mysterious, like using the rising sign, like say a Nazca line, for example, it indicates how the phenomena first presents itself to our awareness and to our understanding. But it's also our perspective, our own unique perspective on that particular mystery and the unexplained. So it's the initial approach, the initial perception to unraveling mystery. Okay? And so that would be how I would explain things. Now we're going to go a little further and we're going to look at Mercury. So Mercury is the cosmic detective, and excuse me, and it helps decode the mystery, so that means ancient inscriptions, symbolic languages, etc. It would have a tendency to help us make sense of things, to help us communicate, as it were, okay? So let's look a little deeper. So I should say that Mercury is a inner planet. So that's basically a personal planet, which would include Venus as well as a personal planet. Sometimes Mars, depending on whom you ask. So, but for the sake of this, we'll include Mars as well. So the personal planets hold a special significance when we're talking about explaining or exploring the mysterious phenomena and hidden truths. So unique insights can be offered into the nature of the explained. So that's what we're doing with this. So Mercury message or mercurial messages. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. Also coming back all the way to Thoth. Thoth would be would be a similar god, but in the Egyptian pantheon. And Mercury is in the Roman pantheon. The Greeks have a god named Hermes. And so it is Thoth, Hermes, and then we have Mercury. Okay, so that is the representation in the astrology. Quantum astrology is what I call it, but that name is fluid. It could change. Represents the transmission and interpretation of the information. So anything mysterious and unexplained, it governs the ancient inscriptions, symbolic languages, patterns of communication that might need to transcend ordinary understanding, meaning you're going to understand the spirit, the poetical of the moment, as opposed to it being a literal truth. When it comes to the esoteric, when it comes to the occult, when it comes to spirituality, it's more about the spirit and the soul of the thing rather than it is about a literal translation. Lastly, it's also the translation of cosmic messages into human comprehension. Now, consider that mercurial energy tends to be very shapeshifty and fluid, and that the realm of the mind is very fluid and shapeshifty as well. So, much like water, they have that in common. They have a very fluid quality, and that basically means that particularly when Mercury, in particular in a quantum chart like this, that Mercury in an air sign, in a water sign, is going to have more of a fluid quality, a shape-shifting quality than, say, if it were in Earth. And it functions completely different than if, say, it were in, fire, for example. So having said that, let's move on. So that is how Mercury is seen. And so when you see Mercury in air and in water, you take what you see as a spirit of the thing rather than a literal understanding or a literal story. Okay? So moving on to Venus, we got Venusian harmonies. And Venus is, well, I've always had a challenge with it, but I can learn. I can make it work. So, sorry, I seem to have lost my place here. Alrighty, so when we're working with Venus, we're looking at sacred geometries and things of that nature. In addition to that, Venus illuminates the aesthetic and their harmonic principles within mystery, the mysterious phenomena, etc. So Venus will guide us to understand sacred geometries, golden ratios, things like that in ancient structures, the role of beauty, an artistic and aesthetic expression in cosmic mysteries as well, and relationships between Earth and its energy patterns and more cosmic rhythms. Now, this is bound to change or expand as I understand the topic of this particular topic even better. Now, when we're looking at Mars, Mars shows us the technological capabilities, of, whatever intelligence we're looking at. Because as Mercury would be, whatever that intelligence we're looking at, it could be animal, it could be crypto, it could be ancient, it could be more of a futurist idea. So we're talking about that. That's what Mars can potentially represent. So it's also the dynamic force and purposeful action behind any unexplained or mysterious phenomena. And in investigation, it can reveal technological capabilities required to create or to understand ancient wonders, particularly if Mars is in an aspect with Mercury. Okay, and there is the strategic placement and orientation of sacred sites and ancient sites and energetic principles powering unexplained events. And it could be, say, we're looking at an alien or what we think is an extraterrestrial craft. Mars would give us an idea of what fuels the craft, the technology behind it, and perhaps any motivation on the craft's use and purpose. Okay, so I should note also, when we're analyzing mysterious phenomena, we have to observe how Mercury, Venus, and Mars interact with the luminaries, meaning that the luminaries would be Sun and Moon, and that will give us a deeper layer of meaning and help us better understand the purpose of the unexplained. So typically, that is how those inner planets tend to act. Now, if we're going to look at synthesis and practice, which is a really cool thing, we're going to have to see how those forces work together when investigating the mysterious and things like that. So today we're going to look at, and when we're talking about investigating mysterious sites, so we're talking about sightings like a cryptozoological, or we're looking at Nazca lines or ley lines or things of that nature. We look at how Mercury's communication patterns align with Venusian geometries if they're present, or Martial energetics if they're present, to better understand how they might all be playing together. So let's see. So if we're talking about a hypothetical in a situation, because I'm going to do an episode after I present how astrology can be used to better understand the explained and the mysterious. I'm then going to present cases or case study in which we apply the information. So right now I'm showing the information, I'm sharing it with you so you can grab it, take it in. And so this episode and the following episode, episode 8, will be all about this information so that you will have it, so that when I do present the case, that you can then refer to this, take notes and refer to this when I talk about how this would be applied, how it would be used, how we would use Mercury, Venus, and Mars, along with the luminaries and the other planets, to then interpret an event to make sense of it. Because the whole point isn't just to make sense of things as an exercise. It is to practice critical thinking, to practice analysis, and to practice discernment. And to learn to be able to read between the lines so that you're not taking something that is figurative or meant to be metaphorical or symbolic literally. That you're able to understand the spirit of the thing and use that spirit to better navigate and understand yourself and your choices and how you wish to move forward or present and show up in life. Okay, so that's how we're going to proceed. So the whole point of the exercise is to give information about how astrology can be used in many different ways, because astrology is a very, very vast subject. It's a very vast field with a long tradition and history. And so when I'm presenting it, what I'm presenting is the ability to use it to explore any number of topics, to explore timing. Should I do this? Should I do that? When is the best day to have a wedding? When is the best day to ask for a promotion? Astrology can assist with that, but it also can do something more deeply, and that is to better understand the events when they come at you, because life is usually going to present you with more than a few reasons to want to tap out and say, I'm done, okay? I need a break, I need a coffee, I need a tea, I need to have a lie down, a sit down, a time out, okay? And so astrology's purpose here is to see to it that we can better navigate life. We can show up. And when we turn up, we can turn up with whatever energies we've got. If you know that, you have a placement here, and you're looking at a chart, and we've got Mercury and air and water, as I've said, that's kind of slippery energy. You know that you're going to need to slow down to be able to discern, to analyze, and to use any critical thinking abilities to better assess the situation before taking action. If you've got Venus hanging out in Earth, which is really cool, but by the way, Venus really likes earth and water as a rule. But when you got Venus earthy, Venus is very much in the material, very much in what can be touched, what can be seen, what can be heard. It's more grounded. Whereas if it's in water, it tends to have more of a flowy quality. And if you put Venus in fire, it's a bit more explosive, is how I would describe it, okay? And Mars tends to like being in water and fire. And as I said, water is very fluid, and fire is kind of, too hot to handle. You can't grab it, it's too hot to handle sort of energy. And so I mention this so that going forward, you see that interpretations in astrology are very fluid, particularly when planets in quantum astrology, which is what I'm tentatively calling this. This is a working title. It's probably going to change. It might change. just to give us a base ground for which to stand on, okay? So, this is what we've got for today. I want to keep it short and sweet so that you can listen more than a few times, take notes, and acclimate the best you can until the next episode, and then presenting that last case. So the key insight here is that personal planets aren't about just one's daily horoscope. The point is they're meant to unlock cosmic mysteries and sometimes even personal mysteries. It is allowing us to dance or play with cosmic energies and to allow us to face or to embrace or to dance with, play with, whatever words you prefer, with the unexplained, the unknown, and the mystery. They're meant to help us unlock those things, but not meant for us to fix those things and make them absolutes, okay? So it's just a way of helping us navigate. So, to find more investigations, if you want more of the daily horoscope type thing, I've got you covered. I have a newsletter called The Daily Stargazer. You can find that in the show notes. I am available, definitely, but I am on APM, and Outlaw Astrology is available on Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube, and you can find those links also in the show notes. So until next time, keep questioning yourself, reality, and the cosmos. Peace and astro magic.